I stepped into the house, tossing my keys onto the counter, expecting silence. Instead, I heard a low moan from upstairs. I froze. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was watching TV? Maybe she was no. The sound wasn't from a screen. It was real. Something inside me snapped. I stormed up the stairs, each step heavier than the last. My hands clenched into fists. My pulse pounded so hard I could hear it in my skull. And then I reached her bedroom. The door was half open. I shouldn't have looked inside. I shouldn't have seen what I saw. But I did. Lauren. My wife. My everything. Straddling some half-naked, sweaty stranger in our bed. My vision went red. The world tilted. I could barely hear past the roar in my ears. I kicked the door open so hard it slammed into the wall with a deafening bang. Lauren screamed, scrambling for the sheets. The guy, some gym rat-looking piece of trash, stumbled backward off the bed, his eyes wide with panic. Good. He should be scared. I took a step forward. He grabbed his pants, fumbling like a damn idiot. Oh my God, Ethan. Lauren shrieked, pressing the sheets to her chest. Like she was the victim. You weren't supposed to be home yet. That was the first thing she said. Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. Not even a pathetic lie. Just annoyance. Like I was interrupting her. I lost it. I lunged at the guy, grabbed him by the throat, and slammed him against the wall. The cheap drywall cracked behind him. His hands clawed at my grip, his face turning red. Ethan. Stop it. Lauren screamed, but I wasn't listening. I wanted to break him. I tightened my grip. My fist cocked back. One punch. Just one. But then Lauren slapped me. Hard. The shock of it made me loosen my grip just enough for the bastard to shove me off. He coughed, gasping for air, but I barely noticed him. I turned to Lauren, my cheek stinging from the slap, and she had the audacity to glare at me. Are you insane? She snapped. You're acting like a child. Like I was the problem. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Are you serious right now? She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Rolling. Her eyes. Oh, don't be so dramatic, she sneered. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. My hands curled into fists. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. This woman, this lying, cheating, heartless woman, was blaming me? The guy took his chance. He grabbed his shirt, shoved past me, and bolted out the door like a coward. Lauren just sat there. No shame. No remorse. Just crossed her arms and sighed. Like she was tired of dealing with me. Are you done now? She muttered. I exhaled slowly. My whole body was shaking. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The room smelled like sweat and betrayal. Lauren sat on the edge of the bed, still wrapped in our sheets, the same sheets she had just defiled with that bastard. She had the audacity to look annoyed, as if I was the one ruining her night. I stood there, fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. My heartbeat was still hammering from the confrontation. The muscles in my arms twitched, still craving violence. I should have hit him. I should have done more. Instead, I let him run like the coward he was. And now I was left alone with her. Lauren sighed dramatically, flipping her hair over her shoulder like we were arguing over dirty dishes. You're being ridiculous, she muttered. I let out a hollow laugh. Ridiculous? My voice didn't even sound like mine. You cheated on me in our house. In our bed. And I'm the one being ridiculous. She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Ethan. Do we really have to do this right now? You came home early. It was bad timing. Bad timing. My vision blurred for a second. I had to remind myself to breathe. She was acting like this was nothing. Like she didn't just rip my heart out of my chest and stomp on it. What the hell is wrong with you? I asked, my voice dangerously low. Lauren groaned and leaned back on her elbows, completely unfazed. Look, Ethan, let's not act like this marriage was perfect. We both know you've been distracted. I flinched. Distracted? You work late. You barely touch me anymore, she said, as if listing off chores she was tired of doing. What did you expect me to do? I stared at her, stunned. Oh my God, I breathed. You're actually blaming me for this? She sat up, giving me a cold smirk. Well, yeah. If you were paying attention, maybe I wouldn't have had to go looking elsewhere. She said it so casually. Like she hadn't just destroyed everything we built together. I took a slow, controlled step toward her. Say that again. Lauren raised an eyebrow. Ethan, don't act all macho now. You didn't do a damn thing when he ran out of here. What, you gonna start throwing punches now? I exhaled sharply, gripping the back of the chair next to me just to keep myself from putting a hole in the wall. Her lips curled into a smirk. That's what I thought. I closed my eyes for a second. Counted to 3. Opened them again. Who is he? My voice was calm now. Too calm. Lauren shrugged. No one important. A fresh wave of rage flooded through me. She wouldn't even give me a straight answer. I turned, grabbing her phone from the nightstand. If she wouldn't tell me, I'd find out myself. She lunged forward, suddenly looking a lot less confident. Ethan, don't you? I yanked it away before she could snatch it back. Unlock it. She folded her arms. No. I laughed, shaking my head. Wow. You're not even trying to deny it, huh? Her jaw tightened. Give me my phone. I ignored her, pressing the screen. Locked. Of course. Without hesitation, I walked toward the bathroom and raised it over the sink. Her eyes widened. Ethan, don't you dare. I dropped it. The phone hit the porcelain with a loud crack. The screen shattered, spiderwebbing instantly. Lauren shrieked. Are you insane? I turned to face her, stepping closer, my voice a dangerous whisper. No, Lauren. I just finally see you for what you are. Her face twisted in rage. You are such a little A. Careful, I cut her off. Choose your next words wisely. She shut her mouth, breathing hard, her nails digging into her arms. Good. I finally got her to shut up. I shook my head, turning toward the door. You know what? I'm done. Sleep in this disgusting bed if you want. I'm out. I grabbed my keys off the counter and stormed downstairs, my whole body trembling. I needed to get out before I did something I'd regret. But just as I reached the door, she called after me, her voice sharp as a knife. You walk out that door, Ethan? Don't bother coming back. I froze. My fingers tightened around the doorknob. Slowly, I turned my head, meeting her gaze. She was standing at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, chin raised. Like she was the one calling the shots. Something inside me clicked. I let out a slow exhale. Oh, trust me, Lauren. I pulled the door open. I won't. And then I walked out, slamming the door behind me. The cold air outside hit me like a slap to the face, but it didn't cool the rage burning inside me. I walked fast, barely registering where I was going. My fists were still clenched, my heart hammering in my chest. I couldn't believe her. Lauren had just thrown our entire marriage away like it was nothing. And she had the nerve to blame me? I should have hit that bastard. I should have broken his damn jaw the second I saw him standing half-naked in my bedroom. Instead, I let him run. Like the coward he was. And now here I was. Walking aimlessly down the street like an idiot with nothing but the clothes on my back and my car keys in my pocket. I got into my truck, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My reflection in the rearview mirror barely looked like me, eyes wild, breathing heavy, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. What now? I had nowhere to go. My parents lived 2 states away. My friends? Hell, most of them were our friends. Lauren had made sure of that. And my best friend, Jake, was probably asleep at this hour. I grabbed my phone and hovered over his number anyway. No. Screw it. I needed someone to talk to. Someone who wouldn't feed me some maybe it's not what it looks like crap. I hit call. Jake picked up on the 3rd ring, his voice groggy. Dude, what the hell? It's almost midnight. I need a place to crash. My voice was rough like gravel. That woke him up. Whoa. What happened? I swallowed. Lauren cheated. Silence. Then, are you serious? Dead serious. Mother, he cut himself off, exhaling sharply. Yeah, man. Get over here. Right now. I didn't need to be told twice. I threw the truck into drive and sped off. 15 minutes later, I was at Jake's place. He opened the door before I even knocked, shirtless, his hair a mess. His expression was pure fury. Tell me everything. I walked in, slumping onto his couch. I came home early. Found some guy half-naked in my bedroom. Jake's eyes widened. Did you? I got one punch in. My jaw tightened. Should have done more. Damn right, you should have. He sat across from me, shaking his head. What did she say? I let out a bitter laugh. She blamed me. Said I was distracted and not giving her enough attention. Jake scoffed. Oh, so now it's your fault she's cheating you. I know, I interrupted, rubbing my temples. Believe me, I know. Jake leaned forward. So, what now? Good question. What now? Lauren had told me not to come back. Fine. I wouldn't. But I wasn't going to just walk away and let her get away with this. I pulled out my phone, opening my bank app. First things first, money. I had our joint account, but I also had a personal account she didn't know about. And right now, I needed to make sure I wasn't about to get screwed over. Jake noticed what I was doing and nodded approvingly. Smart. Take your money before she does. Damn right. I transferred most of the funds out of the joint account into my personal one. Lauren could figure out how to pay for her next shopping spree herself. Next, I checked the house deed. My name. Not hers. Good. I glanced up at Jake. You still got that lawyer's number? His eyes gleamed. Hell yeah. He grabbed his phone, scrolling. I'll send it to you. I exhaled slowly, nodding. Divorce. That was the only way this ended. Lauren had made her choice. And now I was making mine. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Lauren. 20 missed calls. 15 unread messages. I smirked bitterly. Now she wanted to talk? I opened the first message. Ethan, come home. Let's talk. The second. You're overreacting. We can fix this. And then the third. If you don't answer me, you'll regret it. I frowned. Regret it? I clicked on her most recent text. You think you can just leave? Fine. But don't think for a second I'll make this easy on you. There she was. The real Lauren. I chuckled darkly, tossing my phone onto the couch. Jake walked in, holding out a coffee. She blowing up your phone? I took the cup. Oh yeah. And now she's threatening me. Jake raised an eyebrow. Threatening you how? I sighed. She just said she won't make this easy. He scoffed. Oh, boo-hoo. What's she gonna do? Cry about it. I wasn't so sure. Lauren was petty, vindictive, and she hated losing. I wouldn't put it past her to pull something shady. Guess I'll find out soon enough, I muttered, taking a sip of coffee. Jake leaned back against the counter. So, what's the plan? I exhaled. First, lawyer. Then, I take back what's mine. He grinned. Now that's the Ethan I know. But deep down, I had a feeling this was just the beginning. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache, but not from alcohol, from betrayal. Lauren was still asleep beside me, her breathing slow, peaceful. It made me sick. I slipped out of bed, grabbed my phone, and left the room. The video Jake had sent me was still open on the screen. I played it again, my stomach twisting as I watched her with him, his hands on her lips on his. The timestamp was 2 nights ago when she told me she was at a late work dinner. My hands clenched. I needed air. I grabbed my jacket and stepped outside, the cold morning air biting my skin. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Who was this guy? And how the hell did that video end up online? Before I could think of my next move, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email? Now. My chest tightened. I opened my inbox and saw an email with the subject line, "Your wife is a liar." Attached was another video. My pulse pounded in my ears as I hit play. This time, it wasn't just a club. It was a hotel room. The same guy. The same betrayal. But this wasn't some secret recording. Lauren was laughing into the camera, completely aware. I barely noticed the sound of the front door opening behind me. Ethan? Her groggy voice made my skin crawl. I turned, shoving the phone in her face. What the hell is this? Her eyes widened. For a split second, I saw panic. Then, just like that, she flipped the switch. Where did you get that? She snapped, crossing her arms. I stared at her, my blood boiling. That's all you have to say? She scoffed. Oh, come on. You're acting like you've never made a mistake before. I laughed. A cold, bitter sound. A mistake? Lauren, this isn't forgetting to take out the trash. This is you screwing another man. She rolled her eyes. Ethan, I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. My hands tightened into fists. You lied to me. Over and over. And now this video is everywhere. Do you have any idea what you've done? She shrugged. Shrugged. So what? People cheat all the time. You're just mad because you found out. Something inside me snapped. Get out. Lauren blinked. Excuse me. You heard me. Pack your stuff and get the hell out of my house. She let out a sharp laugh. You think you can just kick me out? I'm not thinking, Lauren. I'm doing it. Her expression darkened. You want to play this game, Ethan? Fine. But don't think for a second you're gonna win. She turned on her heel, storming back inside. I stood there, watching as the woman I once loved became a stranger before my eyes. Lauren slammed the bedroom door behind her, the sound echoing through the house. I stood there, my fists clenched, my chest rising and falling in deep, ragged breaths. The morning air did nothing to cool the fire raging inside me. I had spent years building a life with this woman, believing in her, trusting her, only to realize I had been a fool. I walked back inside, my mind racing. There was no going back from this. She had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. But I needed a plan. This wasn't just a relationship ending, it was a war now. Lauren was unpredictable and I had no doubt she would make this as difficult as possible. The look in her eyes before she stormed off told me one thing, she wasn't going to leave quietly. I grabbed my laptop and started looking up divorce lawyers. It was still early, but I didn't care. The sooner I got the ball rolling, the better. My phone buzzed with a message from Jake. Man, are you okay? This is all over social media now. People are talking. Great. Not only was my marriage falling apart, but it was happening in front of an audience. I resisted the urge to check the posts. Seeing the video once was enough. I went to the bedroom, pushing the door open without knocking. Lauren was shoving clothes into a bag, moving furiously. She glanced at me but didn't stop. "Don't worry, I'm leaving," she muttered. "You're damn right you are," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "But don't think for a second this is over." She shot me a glare. "You really think you're some kind of victim here, Ethan?" I exhaled sharply. "I'm done talking, Lauren. Just pack your things and go." She zipped up the bag and yanked it off the bed. As she walked past me, she paused for a moment. Her lips curled into something between a smirk and a sneer. "You were never enough for me, you know that?" Something in my chest twisted, but I didn't let it show. "And you were never worth it." She stormed out and I followed, watching as she grabbed her keys and walked out the front door without looking back. I waited until I heard the engine of her car fade into the distance before I allowed myself to breathe again. For the first time in years, the house was silent. No passive-aggressive sighs, no fake laughter, no tension humming beneath every conversation. Just silence. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like a man who had just walked away from a wreckage, knowing he barely survived. But I wasn't out of the fire yet. Lauren was gone, but this wasn't over. Not even close. The silence didn't last long. By the time noon rolled around, my phone was ringing nonstop. Friends, family, even distant acquaintances, everyone suddenly had something to say. Some called to offer sympathy, others just wanted gossip. I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on the one thing I could control: divorce. I had no doubt Lauren would try to take me for everything I had, so I needed to move fast. I met with a lawyer that afternoon. He was a no-nonsense kind of guy, exactly what I needed. He laid out my options, asked for details, and assured me that, given the circumstances, things could go in my favor as long as I acted quickly. When I got back home, exhaustion hit me all at once. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the public humiliation, the legal battle ahead settled on my shoulders like a heavy cloak. I dropped onto the couch, rubbing my temples. Then the knock came. It was sharp and patient. Not the kind of knock you ignore. I opened the door, and there she was. Lauren. She wasn't alone. Behind her stood a man I didn't recognize, tall, broad, with an arrogant smirk plastered on his face. The same man from the videos. "What the hell do you want?" I asked, my voice low, steady. Lauren crossed her arms, tilting her head. "We need to talk." I let out a bitter laugh. "We?" "No, Lauren. We're done." She ignored me, stepping inside like she still owned the place. Her new boy toy followed, looking around with amusement. "Nice house," he muttered. I clenched my jaw. "Get out." Lauren turned to me, a glint in her eyes. "I came to get the rest of my stuff." And she paused, lips curving into a smirk. "I think we need to discuss financial matters." I exhaled sharply. "That's what lawyers are for." She took a step closer. "You really think you can just kick me out and that's it?" "Ethan, I know things about you. Things that could make this very messy for you." I narrowed my eyes. "Are you threatening me?" She smiled sweetly. "Of course not. Just reminding you that divorce can be complicated." Behind her, the guy chuckled. "You should listen to her, man." I had never wanted to hit someone so badly in my life. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to play their game. Instead, I stepped back, grabbed my phone, and dialed. Lauren frowned. "Who are you calling?" I met her gaze. "The police." "You're trespassing." Her smirk faltered. The guy stiffened. "You wouldn't," she said. "Try me," I replied, bringing the phone to my ear. Silence stretched between us. Then, with a sharp scoff, she turned on her heel and stormed toward the door. Her guy followed, throwing me a glare. Lauren stopped at the threshold. "This isn't over, Ethan." I met her gaze, unflinching. "Yes, it is." She held my stare for a moment, then walked out. I didn't move until I heard the car pull away. Then, finally, I let out the breath I had been holding. Lauren was gone. But something told me this fight was just getting started. The next morning, I woke up with a headache pounding behind my eyes. The house felt emptier than ever, but there was no time to enjoy the silence. Lauren wasn't done playing games, and I knew it. I checked my phone, 6 missed calls from an unknown number. Then a message from my lawyer. "Call me ASAP. There's a problem." I didn't hesitate. The second he picked up, his tone was sharp. "Ethan, Lauren's lawyer sent a letter. She's claiming financial dependence and requesting spousal support." I almost dropped the phone. "She cheated on me, moved out, and now wants me to pay her?" "She's saying she had no stable income, relied on your finances, and that kicking her out left her destitute." I let out a bitter laugh. "She's living with that guy. Destitute my ass. That's what we'll fight on." "But Ethan, she's also saying there was emotional distress during the marriage." She's painting you as controlling, manipulative. Rage boiled in my chest. Lauren wasn't just trying to take my money, she was trying to ruin me. I hung up and immediately searched for her social media. Sure enough, she had been busy. A long post about escaping a toxic relationship, vague enough to sound real, filled with just enough lies to make me the villain. The comments were flooded with sympathy. People who had no idea what actually happened were calling me abusive, saying she was so strong for leaving. And then I saw his comment. The guy from the video. You deserve better, baby. Proud of you. I saw red. I grabbed my keys and was out the door before I could think. I wasn't going to sit back while she destroyed my name. She wanted war? Fine. She'd get one. I drove straight to her new place, a fancy apartment complex I had no doubt he was paying for. The second I stepped out of my car, I heard a voice behind me. Ethan? What the hell are you doing here? Lauren. She was standing by her car, looking at me with a mix of annoyance and amusement. Like she expected this. Like she had planned for it. I walked up to her, my voice low. You're really doing this? You're trying to take my money? Lie about me? She smirked. I'm just telling my truth. Your truth. I scoffed. You mean whatever version of reality makes you look good? She sighed, crossing her arms. Ethan, this is bigger than you now. People believe me. No one cares about your side. My hands clenched into fists. This isn't over, Lauren. She smiled sweetly. Oh, honey. It already is. I turned to leave before I did something I'd regret. But as I walked away, I heard his voice. Man, you really can't take a hint, huh? I spun around. There he was. The same cocky smirk, the same arrogance. He leaned against his car like he owned the world. You think this is funny? I asked. He shrugged. Yeah. A little. Something inside me snapped. I was on him before I could think. My fist connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling back. He barely had time to react before I grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the car. You ruined my life, I growled. He laughed. Nah, man. She was never yours to begin with. Before I could land another punch, I felt hands pulling me back. Lauren was screaming, neighbors were watching, someone was shouting about calling the police. I let go and stepped back, breathing hard. He wiped blood from his lip, grinning like he had won. You just made this so much easier for us, he said. Lauren shook her head, looking at me like I was pathetic. This is why I left. I walked away without another word. As I drove home, my knuckles aching, I realized something. This wasn't just about the divorce anymore. Lauren wasn't trying to move on, she was trying to destroy me. And I wasn't going to let her. I spent the next few days waiting for the fallout. I knew the punch would come back to bite me, but I didn't regret it. Not for a second. That guy had it coming, and he knew it. But now, the real war was about to begin. I was right. The first blow came in the form of a restraining order. Delivered straight to my door, signed and stamped. For the safety and well-being of Lauren Matthews and her partner, Nathan Cole, the court finds sufficient cause to issue a no-contact order against Ethan Brooks. I read it 3 times. Nathan. So that was his name. I crumpled the paper in my hand, my blood boiling. She was actually trying to paint me as dangerous. A second letter followed the next day. This time from my lawyer. Lauren is using the incident as evidence of violent tendencies, he said over the phone. She's pushing for full financial support and claiming emotional distress from years of controlling behavior. I laughed bitterly. Unbelievable. It's serious, Ethan, he said. If she convinces the judge, you could be paying her for years. I gripped the phone tighter. She cheats on me, moves in with that guy, and I'm the bad guy? That's how she's spinning it. I hung up without another word. That night, I barely slept. My mind wouldn't stop racing. Lauren wasn't just trying to leave me, she wanted to ruin me completely. I had seen women like this before, heard stories of guys getting destroyed in court, their lives turned upside down while their exes walked away untouched. I wasn't going to be one of those guys. I needed to hit back. Hard. The next morning I started digging. If Lauren wanted a fight, she was going to get one. First, I went through her finances. I had been the one handling most of the bills while she was out finding herself or whatever excuse she gave for never holding down a job. She never paid a single mortgage payment. The car she drove? Under my name. Credit cards? Mine. I called my bank. Freeze the joint account, I said. Immediately. Next, I went to work gathering evidence. Texts, emails, even old messages where she admitted to things that contradicted her little sob story online. I compiled everything, dates, receipts, screenshots. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd go lower. Then I hired a private investigator. Find out everything you can about Nathan Cole, I told him. His job is past any skeletons in his closet. If there's dirt, I want it. The PI nodded. Give me a week. A week? That was too long. I needed something now. That evening I did something reckless. Stupid, but necessary. I drove to Lauren's new place. Not to break the restraining order, I wasn't that dumb. I just parked down the street and waited. An hour passed. Then 2. And then I saw her. Lauren stepped out of the apartment, dressed up, hair perfect, looking like she didn't have a care in the world. Nathan followed, arm around her waist. They laughed completely at ease, like they had won. They got into a sleek black car, not the one she had taken from me. I tailed them, keeping my distance. They drove to an upscale restaurant, the kind we had only gone to for anniversaries. I sat in my car across the street, watching them through the window. They weren't just celebrating. They were flaunting it. Lauren leaned across the table, touching his hand, smiling at him the way she used to smile at me. Nathan whispered something, and she laughed, tilting her head back like he was the funniest man alive. Something inside me twisted, but it wasn't sadness anymore. It was rage. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Then another. And another. Evidence. The next morning, my PI called. You're gonna love this, he said. Nathan Cole? He's been married before. Twice. Both ex-wives accused him of fraud and financial manipulation. One even claimed he drained her accounts before leaving her for another woman. I sat up straighter. You're sure? Got the court records to prove it. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. Lauren thought she had one. She had no idea what was coming. I spent the next few days tightening my grip. Lauren thought she had played her last move, but she underestimated me. This wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about survival. Armed with every piece of dirt I had collected, I met with my lawyer. I want to go on the offensive, I said. He raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind? I slid a folder across the table. Nathan Cole's history. 2 ex-wives. Both left financially ruined. Fraud allegations. And now he's with Lauren, who just so happens to be trying to squeeze me dry. I leaned forward. She's not the victim here. She's his next mark. My lawyer flipped through the documents, nodding slowly. This changes things. What if we push a different angle? I suggested. She's claiming financial dependence, but she's with a guy who has a history of exploiting women for money. She's either in on it, or she's about to be his next target. He smirked. If the judge sees this, it'll shatter her credibility. And if Nathan's past comes out in court, she'll be forced to explain why she's with a serial scammer. I leaned back. Exactly. A few days later, my lawyer filed a motion to reverse her financial claims, arguing that Lauren had knowingly involved herself with a man with a history of fraud. The court date was set, and I made sure she knew exactly what was coming. The day before the hearing, I got a text. Lauren, we need to talk. I stared at the screen, then typed back, see you in court. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse with my head held high. Lauren was already there, dressed in her usual victim outfit, subtle makeup, soft colors, everything designed to make her look innocent. But she looked nervous. Nathan wasn't with her. Interesting. She avoided my eyes as we sat on opposite sides of the courtroom. My lawyer presented everything. The financial records, the fraud allegations against Nathan, even the photos I had taken of their expensive night out while she claimed to be destitute. Lauren's lawyer tried to object, but it was too late. The damage was done. When the judge finally spoke, his words hit her like a hammer. The court finds no grounds to grant spousal support. Furthermore, given the evidence presented, Mrs. Matthews' claims of financial dependence are unsubstantiated. Lauren's face went pale. She had lost. And then came the final blow. Additionally, given Mr. Cole's history, the court finds reason to investigate potential financial misconduct. Any attempts at further claims will be subject to scrutiny. Lauren knew what that meant. Any future attempt to go after me would open an investigation into Nathan. And he wasn't going to like that. For the first time in months, I saw fear in her eyes. As we walked out of the courtroom, she grabbed my arm. Ethan, she said, her voice shaking. Please, can we talk? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who had lied, cheated, and tried to destroy me. And for the first time, I felt a nothing. I pulled my arm free. We're done, Lauren. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I walked away, for good. A few weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that Nathan had left her. The moment she became a liability, he was gone, just like he had done to the others. She tried to reach out to me again. Texts, calls, even an email. I never responded. Instead, I focused on myself, my job, my future. I wasn't the broken man she tried to leave behind. I had survived, and I had won.